Om Tavakatamritam Taptajivanam Kavipiriditam Kalmashapam Sharavanamangalam Srimadatatam Bhuvinviranantiye Burita Janaha. The nectar of your words, the praise of poets' seers, the elixir to parched souls, delight to listening ears, cleanser of all sins is great and glorious. They who spread it far and wide on earth are most generous. Om, peace, peace, peace. Good evening, friends. Today we will continue with the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. We are presently on page 161. It is December 1882. We don't have a specific date, but we just know the month. It was afternoon. The master was sitting in his room at the Kineshar with M and one or two other devotees. Several Marwari devotees arrived and saluted the master. They requested Sri Ramakrishna to give them spiritual instruction. He smiled. Master, to the Marwari devotees, you see, the feeling of I and mine is the result of ignorance. But to say, O God, thou art the doer, all these belong to thee, is the sign of knowledge. How can you say such a thing as mine? The superintendent of the garden says, this is my garden. But if he is dismissed because of some misconduct, then he does not have the courage to take away even such a worthless thing as his mango wood box. Well, we may not say it verbally, but every day we feel, this is mine, that is mine, and it would be, and if you are a married couple, then it's this is ours, that is ours. But even better still would be to say that this is God's, that is God's. But we do not make a conscious effort to think that way. When Sri Ramakrishna says that, O God, thou art the doer, all these belong to thee, this is a sign of knowledge. Well, it's a sign of knowledge if that's your constant experience. But up until then, we need constant reminders. We need to constantly remind ourselves that, no, this is not mine, this is God's. And even if you think of it logically, although I don't know if everyone thinks the same way logically, but even if you go into a store and buy something and you've actually spent real money that you earned from real effort, you feel that that is mine. But is it really? We have only basically purchased the right to use it. But if we feel that it no longer meets our satisfaction or our purpose, then without a second thought, we discard it or give it away to someone. So even when we say, this is mine, that is mine, those are so transitory, depending on the circumstances and on our need for them, but also our attachment to them. The more attached we are to something, and the more we feel that it's mine, the less likely we are to just give it away. We'd rather get something back for it. Or we hold on to it until our deathbed, and we don't give it to anybody because we feel that's mine. I once saw a bumper sticker that said, the more he who gets the most things before they die wins. So the question is, well, that is not going to help one spiritually. It'll have used up all your finances and money to acquire all the things you ever wanted. But that's not the goal or the purpose of life. So one should constantly remind oneself that this is not mine. O God, thou art the doer. All these things belong to thee. As we progress more spiritually, we will have a genuine feeling that, no, this can't be mine. It belongs to us. Even when we join here as a monastery, when we do work or something, I say, oh, this is my computer, that's your computer. But no, it's not. It belongs to the society. We should be saying, no, this is our computer. That is our computer. These are our computers. So in the beginning stages, we still claim ownership, but realistically, no, it's not mine. It never was mine. I just have permission to use it. And if we think of our own personal items that same way, we won't be as attached to them as some other people might be, where their computer is their life, their phone is their life. Well, I guess it is nowadays. I cannot say this is our phone because it has only my information on there, not all of our information. So it starts getting confusing, but that doesn't mean I won't. If somebody asks me if they can borrow the phone, of course you can borrow the phone. I'm not going to say, no, that's my phone. I will not let you borrow it. So it is our phone. We have permission to use it. If I buy a car, well, yeah, I've spent tens of thousands of dollars. I put my blood, sweat, and tears in earning the money to acquire that car. But if I change my attitude a little bit, that I will take care of this car because it is God's car. Because how long will it be my car for? 1 year, 2 years, trade it in. At some point, it's no longer your car. So then the question becomes, was it ever your car? It's only a thought that you had that made that claim. And of course, all the legal paperwork says that it's your car. The bank thinks it's your car. They're going to come to you to pay for your car when they want their money. But that's from the worldly standpoint. But from a point of view where everything is transitory, how can you claim that anything is yours? A flash flood of fire, that car is gone. So you'll save yourself a lot of misery by understanding the car, not yours, never was. So even Sri Ramakrishna is using this analogy that even the worthless thing is a mango wood box. That's the cheapest wood you can find in India because mangoes grow everywhere. And he might just sit on that box throughout the day when he's not busy. And he'll think that that's my box because he used that box for many years. But no, he won't even be able to take that box with him. So when we die, we won't be able to take anything with us. All that stuff that we won, that we acquired through our lives. So now he continues. Anger and lust cannot be destroyed. Well, how did he get to this statement from what he had just said? Well, anger and lust cannot be destroyed. That sort of implies that anger and lust is inherent in all human beings. And our goal in life is to somehow manage that. And we manage that but what is the nature of the mind that will allow us to manage that? Because the nature of the mind is that it thinks. Just thoughts will come to it uncontrollably without any intervention. It'll acquire those thoughts from what it sees, what it hears, what it smells from all the senses. And it will be thinking about what it feels, what it's, all kinds of things will come to it in an uncontrolled, it'll just be flooded with thoughts. If there was no restraint, if there was no guidance and no discipline. So on the one hand, the mind wants free rein to do whatever it wants in its own way. There will be rambling thoughts, and that's what it does naturally. But on the other hand, it also wants to be disciplined, it wants guidance, it wants stability, because in that it finds some sense of relief. And it gets that when it can concentrate on something. When when the mind is directed to a single thought, it finds relief from all the other thoughts that are trying to bombard itself. But what controls this mind is going to be the ego, the same ego that says, what is this feeling of I and mine? Well, I feel this is my body, this is my mind. And so I feel like I find peace when I can control my mind, when I can discipline the mind, when I concentrate on something. But Sri Ramakrishna is also reminding us that even that is only a preliminary step. When you feel that, no, God is the doer, and that all these things belong to thee. So if you can think of yourself as this body belongs to God, this mind belongs to God, therefore I have a responsibility to discipline it. I have a responsibility to control it, to manage it, so that it becomes a fit vehicle as I work in the world. It also makes me a fit vehicle to be within society. It also, I'm not frittering away my energies. They are being directed toward a purpose. The mind wants a purpose. And so anger and lust are being inherent. They are part of all this, the rambling thoughts. And throughout the Gospel, Sri Ramakrishna talks about the main obstacles in spiritual life being lust and gold. By gold, he's talking about fulfilling our desires. So we have also the desires that we need, objects of desire, objects that we need for our survival as human beings to be able to live. But then we have frivolous objects, things that we want but don't need. Those are the things that we're talking about as restraining those. What we need and what is required to live and survive, those are not so much the point here, it's the excesses. So when we're talking about lust and gold, he's talking about lust and greed. Talking about things that we don't need, but yet we feel that by having them around, we feel comfortable, but they're not needed. And so lust is also, we need lust and anger to be able to live in the world. Because they are inherent in all of us, they are also, as we learn to manage them, we also learn to control the mind. So we have to know what to abstain from and what is needed to maintain our lives. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna mentions that the more our mind dwells on objects, even if it just means going through a catalog, surfing on the web, we develop a desire for certain objects. Now, as that desire increases, and the more we think about it, we develop an attachment to that. But if something comes in the way of our attachment that says, no, you shouldn't buy that, and if it's emphasized, if we are held back, then anger develops in the mind, and we want to retaliate. Well, once we know that the object of our desire has been blocked, then as that anger develops within us, our thinking, our rationality starts diminishing. We start getting angry at a person, forgetting all the good things that person has done. Now we are just focused on, no, we want this, I have to have that. And we start creating all kinds of illogical arguments to justify it. It may not even be another person. It may just be that we have these internal arguments. And in a sense, we're trying to convince ourselves that, oh, I want this, but perhaps we don't have the money for it. And we think, well, maybe it's not the right thing now, but still, the thought is back there. But from this anger, if it persists, it cascades into a whole other series of delusion. We start forgetting the good things about the person, as I mentioned, whatever is preventing us from acquiring our desires. But we also, what happens is our sense of discrimination fails. We're no longer thinking correctly. What is right, what is wrong. And when our sense of discrimination fails, then Sri Krishna says, the man perishes. Well, what does he mean by perishes? Well, as the mind descends further and further into that sense, his moral disciplines start dissipating, and he'll start doing immoral actions, and somehow, with the desire to somehow acquire those desires, to satisfy that desire. So life is all about not going to that stage and preventing the mind from doing that, because the mind naturally wants to keep on thinking and dwelling on things, creating all kinds of scenarios to justify a situation. It will, uncontrolled, will end up in that kind of state where one becomes morally defunct. And the only way out of that is to basically go into solitude, start thinking more rationally. But it's a whole process at that point, whether one needs counseling or whether one needs spiritual guidance, hard to say. I remember once I was just crossing the street to go to our monastery. I saw this very expensive car parked outside, a Bentley. You never see such a car in this neighborhood. And I was wondering, I wonder who that car belongs to. Very few other cars on the street. And as I go into the monastery building, I'm hearing a lot of shouting and screaming at Swami. Swami Nikhilananda was there at the time. Listen to this tirade of this person. And I'm hearing banging on his fist banging on the glass. At that time, we had a glass coffee table. And I was really scared as, what is this guy, what is the limit of this guy's anger? And I did not want to go upstairs and leave Swami alone with this gentleman. So I just stayed in the kitchen and was listening to see if anything was going to go out of control. But he was basically at that point where he could not think clearly because he had lost all his money now in the stock market. It failed. He cannot, he was now totally in debt. His family has now left him because they felt he was now worthwhile. This was an Indian gentleman. And his family reputation was at stake. All his friends have walked away from him. And he is now at this point of desperation. And unfortunately, I don't even know what Swami would have said because he was spoken so calmly and quietly that I could not hear that from the kitchen. But I'm just describing what happens when the mind goes to the point of excess of acquisition, and then it's all taken away. What can a person descend to? So that is a state of mind that we should all try to prevent from happening to ourselves. So he says, anger and lust cannot be destroyed, but he provides a solution. He says, turn them toward God. If you must feel desire and temptation, then desire to realize God. Feel tempted by Him. Discriminate and turn the passions away from worldly objects. When the elephant is about to devour a plantain tree in someone's garden, the mahout strikes it with his iron-tipped goad. So sometimes we have to learn how to scold the mind. In monastic life, it's considered a blessing to be scolded by swamis. Not every swami, senior swamis. Because they have a sense of what's going on in your mind. And if you do something without thinking carefully about what you're doing or kind of carelessly, they will understand that, well, if you're doing this carelessly, then you're also meditating carelessly. And so they might say a few sharp words. They may give you a real blast or just a calm statement. But I think usually after 3 calm statements, it becomes a more adamant statement. And you better take that seriously because you're joining the monastery to become better. One way or the other, you want to be better. And if you don't take their guidance seriously, then that will introduce all kinds of other issues in the future. Because you'll start thinking, oh, I can do whatever I want. Or I can do something this way or that way. But that is the uncontrolled mind telling you, you can do this, you can do that. But in a monastery, the idea is, and even in a workplace, you'll have to follow certain standards to be able to maintain and hold your job. Because that is the company has its goals, the order has its goals. People have expectations of what the monks of the Ramakrishna order are supposed to be like. And if you are not up to the mark, that makes a poor representation of the order. And the same at a workplace. How you answer the phone is going to determine what customers think about that company. Same here. So everybody needs to be trained. The mind needs to be trained on how it should approach, how it should control itself. One needs to be trained how to work in a company, how to work in a monastery. So in a monastery, it's easier. We have the constant remembrance that, yeah, whatever we do is for the service of God, and we should offer it to God. All the things that are acquired, that we have here are donated by our members who have worked hard. And so we should not fritter away their energies by quickly discarding something without a second thought. Think of how it could be reused before you discard something, and make responsible decisions. So it's a constant practice of introspection. We introspect in our own mind where our mind wants to go, but also we introspect. We have to think about how our actions affect others. And the more we think of others and less of ourselves, the weaker our ego becomes. And the more we think of things being for God, then our ego becomes at its weakest until we can resign completely to God. So yes, we have all these desires and temptations, but we should desire to realize God, feel tempted by Him. Well, we feel tempted when we read the scriptures, when we read the biographies of the different saints and seers, and we see that, oh, they've acquired some peace of mind, some clear understanding, some wisdom, and that makes sense to us. So we should feel tempted by their efforts, by their words, by their inspiration. So now he's speaking to the Mawaris. You are merchants. You know how to improve your business gradually. Some of you start with a castor oil factory, and after making some money at that, you open a cloth shop. In the same way, one makes progress toward God. It may be that you go into solitude now and then and devote more time to prayer. So what Sri Ramakrishna is speaking about here is spiritual practice as a step-by-step process. You start with moral training. You read the scriptures. All the religions mention how morality is an important foundation for any spiritual life. So the moral teachings, and then the practice of meditation or japa, anything that can control the mind, anything that can increase one's willpower. And through this increased practice, one develops more attraction to spiritual practice than to worldly endeavors. And then he says, but you must remember that nothing can be achieved except in its proper time. Some persons must pass through many experiences and perform many worldly duties before they can turn their attention to God. So they have to wait a long time. If an abscess is lanced before it is soft, the result is not good. The surgeon makes the opening when it is soft and has come to a head. Once a child said to its mother, "Mother, I am going to sleep now. Please wake me up when I feel the call of nature." "My child," said the mother, "when it is time for that, you will wake yourself up. I shan't have to wake you." So in our spiritual endeavors, we feel that we might have the grace of the Guru, we might have God's grace, but we also need the grace of our own mind. And our mind won't give us that grace until it's ready. And it won't be ready until it has gone through these moral and ethical disciplines, through preliminary spiritual practices. And so, and also until our desire for God increases. And until then, it'll be like having our feet in two boats. One foot is in the worldly boat and the other foot in the godly boat. And they may not always be going synchronously. So we need to learn to let go of one foot from the worldly boat and move it over to the godly boat. But our sense of balance will always be kind of making us unstable. We won't be stable in one or the other because we do not have full commitment to one or the other. Either you're fully committed to the worldly life, but then you neglect God. So then you'll be subject to all these miseries that I've just described. Or as you try to gently get onto the other boat, keep that one foot on the God boat. And as you shift more and more weight over until you can get both feet in there, until then you are doing your constant practices, you are reading the scriptures, and at some point the mind will feel comfortable that yes, I can take that foot off that other boat and put both feet on the boat. Just like when you're ice skating, everybody wants to skate on 2 feet, but there comes a point where you have to master being able to skate on 1 foot. So, and a lot of people are scared to skate on 1 foot. What to speak of skating on 1 foot for the whole length of the rink. So that takes some training and some skill and releasing one's fear. Sometimes one has a fear of letting go from the world, things of the world, letting go some of the things that you've cherished all your life, and letting go of those things, and then now that they are absent in your life, what do you do with that, with your mind? Well, direct it toward God. God is everything, including those things you discarded or gave away. So one should feel comfortable that, no, everything is in God. Why should I keep my mind on so many specific things? Think of everything as being God. And with that will come peace of mind. It'd be like going to a shopping center and saying, well, I want this, I want that, and that. But if you can think that, no, the whole shopping center's, I can do the whole shopping center. You just feel that the whole shopping center is yours. So you feel that God is yours, that everything belongs to God. And when he's using this example that, a child says, he wants his mother to remind him when to wake him up in case he has to use the bathroom. But his mother reassures the child that no, you will wake up yourself and you will know when you have to go. That's when you take that foot out of the worldly boat into the godly boat. You'll know, okay, now I feel stable enough to put both my feet on the godly path. Now he's continuing. The Mawari devotees generally brought offerings of fruit, candy, and other sweets for the master. But Sri Ramakrishna could hardly eat them. He would say, they earn their money by falsehood. I can't eat their offerings. He said to the Mawaris, you see, one can't strictly adhere to truth in business. There are ups and downs in business. Nanak once said, I was about to eat the food of unholy people when I found it stained with blood. A man should offer only pure things to holy men. He shouldn't give them food earned by dishonest means. When we offer something to someone, even if I offer a gift to someone, I should be able to offer that gift without attachment. I've sometimes been given something and then told, well, I want to give this to you, but if you feel that you have no need for it, then give it back. Well, if the very act of you wanting to give it in the first place, that means you have not really detached yourself from that object. In which case I would say, no, I don't need it or I don't want it. Because I recognize that, no, that person's still attached to it and should make other use of it or give it to someone else. So if somebody is offering something but has other intentions behind it, well, it's not pure. It's not a pure offering anymore. So people would sometimes offer things to Ramakrishna and not disclose a purpose that they're offering this to a God-man because the God-man would think, this is a good person and will think graciously about them. But the person meanwhile is thinking, well, I will get some reward if I give it to this holy man. It might be I get a job or I get a raise or this or that. So it's offered with attachment. It's not offered out of love. It's not offered out of love. So, and then if what you've given has been purchased with money made from dishonest means, well, then you're also again giving something to a person, but it's not going to change how you're living your life. You're still going. If you gave something with a desire that, no, I'm giving up telling falsehoods and lies for my business, and I want to make a clean start, that's one thing. But if your if the purpose is to just to basically show your wealth or show your generosity, well then, but still your life goes on the same way, well then, no, that is not given out of love. So a holy man, in this case Ramakrishna, will refuse it. And he had the ability to know that upon meeting the person, that no, this is given out of for selfish intentions. So a man should offer only pure things to holy men. He shouldn't give them food earned by dishonest means. God is realized by following the path of truth. One should always chant his name, even while one is performing one's duties. The mind should be left with God. Suppose I have a carbuncle on my back. I perform my duties, but the mind is drawn to the carbuncle. It is good to repeat the name of Rama, the same Rama who was the son of King Dasharatha, has created this world. Again, as spirit, he pervades all beings. He is very near us. He is both within and without. So here he goes back to always of getting rid of this feeling of I and mine and thinking that no, keep the mind on God in all your actions. And then he's reminding us that no, it's because God pervades everything and he's very near to us. He's within us and he's without us. So rather than thinking of all these discrete objects of the world, of our discrete desires, develop this desire for God because it encompasses everything. And we only take from this life those things that we really need, not the unnecessaries. That is the end of the day for the Ramakrishna's teachings. And while you might think of some questions, I will give some announcements. Tomorrow evening, Swami Ramatmananda from our retreat, the Tapovan retreat, via a Google Meet, will be giving a class on Towards the Goal Supreme. It will be a discussion group, a two-way discussion group, unlike our class here where I do all the talking and perhaps some questions show up. And then on Friday, Swami Satyamananda will be giving a class on the life of Haramohan Mitra. So he will be giving that class Friday night. However, on Friday, we also are getting a guest Swami visiting us. He is Swami Ishadyanananda of Sacramento. He won't be giving the class that evening because he's probably arriving later that day. But the following day at our retreat in Arlington, he and Swami Satyamananda will be conducting our monthly meditation retreat. And on Sunday, Swami Ishadyanananda will be giving the Sunday talk at 10 a.m. Oh, pardon me, the retreat function runs from 1 to 5 p.m. on Saturday. And everyone is welcome to attend. You don't have to sign up for anything. Just go there. Directions are on our website. And as I mentioned, Swami will be giving the talk on Sunday morning at 10 a.m. And we will also have Ramnam, devotional singing, here in the chapel Sunday night at 7 p.m. So if you don't have any questions at this time, I will conclude with a chant. Om Niranjanam Nityam Anantarupam Bhakta Nukampa Tritavigraham Vai Ishavataram Paramesamityam Tvam Ramakrishnam Shirasa Namamaha. We salute that Ramakrishna who is without blemish, eternal and infinite in forms, who has assumed human form out of compassion for the devotees, who is God incarnate, the Supreme Lord, and who is most worshipful. Om, peace, peace, peace to all beings.